Welcome, everyone, to FI Consult's official launch of our public relations offering. This has been in the making for some time. It certainly wasn't one of our initial ideas. We didn't, from the outset of when we began this business, intend to do PR, but we have had so much success with PR. I and other businesses have had so much success with PR. And one thing led to another, and we just thought it would be an amazing offering and service to our financial planning business clients to include something that other businesses, both financial planning businesses and businesses outside of the financial services industry, have for years and years had so much success from. But it doesn't seem to be something that the financial services industry has embraced, at least at the small to medium-sized business level. The larger businesses, from large listed businesses to businesses of 100 people plus, often contract the services or have them in-house. And the return on their investment is significant, and that's why it's done. But the PR service offering has largely been at least perceived to be inaccessible or out of reach to the average business. So my relationship with public relations has been over many, many years. David's as well, if you think about his time with the Financial Planning Institute and how they used and leveraged the benefits of public relations. But just from my personal perspective, all of the businesses that I have worked in or worked with or had an interest in at one stage or another, if not consistently and permanently, have used public relations to their benefit over time. In fact, when we launched FI Consult last year, in addition to everything else that we did, we uh, we had a public relations campaign that sat beneath and supported all of those other functions, and that really put us out there. It was part of our launch platform, and it enabled us to get the exposure and the publicity as a result of what we did. And then just I suppose a bit of a personal story. I left employ in 2019 and jumped ship into the coaching business, which you may know that I have. And it wasn't long after that, in fact, exactly 9 months, that COVID hit and we were locked down. And although in the 9 months I significantly built this business, COVID and lockdowns did have an impact, a negative impact on the business. And I took the risk in 2020 of contracting to a public relations company and spending the money, investing in public relations to get the business name out there and my name out there and get the exposure. And not only did it work, but it helped me to build the business in what was a very, very trying time for most businesses, to the extent that at one point at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, I had to cap my number of clients. I could not take on any more business. I wasn't doing things like Google Ads anymore, which is what really where I spent the time and effort and money right in the beginning. In 2019, I wasn't doing that anymore. So it was, I believe, primarily as a result of the public relations efforts. I'm just letting someone in. And to some extent, of course, referral business. But I think that business, like financial planning, you really have to ask hard for referrals. So public relations, in my very personal experience, has worked incredibly well for me. But in financial services, it really, there has been a traditional perception around it being inaccessible, almost the less obvious choice if we think about it like that. But today, we want to bring public relations to the fore. We want to present it really as a no-brainer for any business, no matter the size of the business, as long as it is in financial services, which is who we serve through FI Consult. We want to bring it within reach and we want to make it accessible even to the smallest of businesses. The way we've designed our process and our offering, it will suit any business, from the one-person band to the much larger company. Probably not listed companies because they go in-house, but certainly for any company that's not going to employ the professionals within their business on a full-time basis, it is for you. All right. So in investment speak, we believe that public relations is certainly a viable option for a potentially great return on your investment. So let's get very simple and bare bones over here and understand firstly what public relations is, because although we've all heard of it, we know what it is. In theory, there's certainly many individuals and businesses that haven't had direct experience in it. And even if you have, you might not have had involvement in it yourself as a business leader or business owner. So let's explore what it is at that raw level, and then we'll go into the other aspects of it. And I'm not, or we haven't leaned on any documents, any literature. This is really our own definition, which we'll share with you. The thing is, something with public relations is it's also evolved in its own right over the years, and it's often referred to now as reputation management, which we honestly believe is a subset of public relations. It's also a specialist area, but what does happen as a result of the public relations efforts that we put out there is that reputation is created and reputation is managed. So when you do have a crisis situation, yes, you can manage reputation through public relations efforts. So reputation management aside, public relations is a high impact, relatively low cost strategy that builds credibility, it gets attention, it generates leads, and it certainly reinforces brand. The objective of public relations is to create relevant and interesting content, very important, relevant and interesting, and then distribute that content to targeted, very specifically targeted media that give your business coverage. Now, that coverage is traditionally print, radio, and TV, but also for the last probably 25 years, it's been websites, online media, and so on. The media will then either use your content exactly as you provided it, which we're seeing more and more of nowadays. There seems to be a degree of laziness around, which is not bad, but then you have to write it properly. You have to write it professionally. There's spelling, there's grammar, there's punctuation, and everything that goes with the well-written word. Or they could edit it to suit their own format or their own media, whatever it may be. The way we provide it will, in most cases, be suitable, but media might edit it to suit whatever their needs are. So they could use it as is or edit it, but they could also then, on the back of the message that you're providing through the content that you create, be invited to be interviewed, for example, on TV and radio, and that's very, very powerful. So these interviews are great because it gets your people in front of media personalities and on platforms where they can then live or recorded get exposure in their own personal capacities, but representing your business. So let's have a look at the benefits of PR, of which there are many, and I'm just going to raise a few over here. I think even if you haven't been involved in PR directly and haven't had a lot of exposure to PR, if you think about it, the benefits are obvious, but let's just have a look at these few over here. PR certainly raises awareness of your business, and not just your business, but what lies under the business, the golden circle, what you do, how you do it, and what makes you different. So it differentiates, or can at least help to differentiate your business from many and other businesses, and also differentiate the person representing your business, because now you've got a human personality behind the brand. Getting your name out there through the pieces that you write and release and the interviews that you find yourself invited to gives the business and its advisors a voice and a platform. And with that comes the opportunity to lead the race in terms of, for example, thought leadership, to become a front runner in that regard. It certainly very successfully can build reputation, manage reputation too, and build credibility, which is really one of the things that you want in the financial services industry with clients and existing clients. And we know that credibility is one of the contributors to trust, if you have a look at the trust formula. Also, the exposure that your business gets as a result of successful public relations is effectively free advertising. If you just think about how much it costs to take out a quarter-page ad, for example, in a publication that your potential clients might read versus the cost of public relations, you'll see very soon that the investment is, as I said earlier, relatively affordable, and the potential returns are enormous. The benefits can also be exponential, where one piece of exposure or interview or coverage or whatever it might be can result in others. It's interesting how media look at one thing, even from their competitors, and jump on board and want to expose or give exposure or use that content for themselves, even though they know that it's been used by their competitors. And then the expansive kind of theory around that is that you might even get some peripheral media, but it's still exposure, it's still reputation, it's still credibility. For your existing clients, having you out there getting exposure, building brand, reputation, and credibility gives them security and peace of mind that they are committed to the right business and the right people. There's a sense of pride around it. They talk about it. Word of mouth is certainly possible as a result, and referrals are certainly possible as a result of this with existing clients. For potential clients wanting to research financial advice companies or going into research around or on a company that they are considering committing to, it's very powerful because most exposure as a result of public relations will be recognized by Google because the media platforms are very well positioned with Google. So when a potential client Googles your business and you've had media exposure, you come up. You, the business, you, the advisors, if the advisor is represented, but generally the business has far greater a chance of coming up through Google searches, which gives clients, potential clients, the confidence that they're working with the right business and the confidence to contract with the right business, commit to them if they're looking. So how PR works in our world, the way that we are doing it, which is incredibly effective, but very, very affordable at the same time, is we're starting with a press release. It's very simple. This is how public relations works, is we start with a press release. The press release needs to be written by us, and then we distribute that press release to very well-targeted media, very well-targeted and relevant media that we believe will use the press release in the best possible way to get you the exposure that you need for the content that you are creating and to reach your target audience. And then as a result of successful media distribution, hopefully your business will get the exposure through the publication or representatives of your business will be brought in or onto the platforms for interviews so that they can expand and be questioned on and elaborate on what your business is thinking, your position on certain subjects, your thoughts and interpretations and what's going on in, for example, the world of financial planning. Our PR process is very simple at face value. It's a little bit more complicated in the background. Perhaps complicated isn't the right word. What I mean is that there are steps that make it very efficient in the background. So we've got you, we've got us as FI Consult, the public relations company, or at least our service within FI Consult, and we've got them, the media outlet. So let's go back to you as the financial services provider. The process around you is that you approach this as a business, not as a person representing the business. It's not about financial advisor A or financial advisor B or the person that runs the business or the owner of the business. It's the business. The business contracts to FI Consult for public relations, and we want to build the brand and reputation and credibility of the business. So you approach this as a business. The business elects representatives that will liaise with us and will be called in for interviews and so on, whatever the benefit of the exposure is. So the business needs, maybe you could call that person a PR representative for your business. So who from your financial services business represents the business insofar as public relations is concerned. And then maybe circumventing a bit of the process over here, but we, together with you, at least at the beginning, but then you build the muscle around this to explore themes. And themes could be around financial planning, around client demographics, psychographics, clients' problems and challenges, financial services itself, perhaps themes in the world or the country, like national elections and public holidays, things that you can tie back to financial planning. And then you could consider working a calendar. So you could work 6 months ahead, for example, and you look at particular themes and holidays and national events and so on. And you take your themes and overlay that on the calendar. And what you start to do is create a pipeline of content that you can share with us that we can then write up in the form of press releases for you. So you want to, in terms of content, be looking at messages and advice and key points that you can share with potential clients or existing clients or anyone interested in what you do as a financial services business. And then you want to brief us as the PR division of FI Consult. And then ongoing, always be thinking, talking about creating content so that you do always have that pipeline and you don't have to scurry around looking for ideas when it comes to needing to write the next press release. So work ahead. Just like your advisors should have a pipeline in their business development function, you want a pipeline in your public relations function. For us, we will kick off with you. We will guide you. We will have an initial brainstorm around themes. We will help you with process. We will even provide you with a process document of about 5 pages, which will take you through, but we can leave with you so that it's always there if any representatives of your business need that guide. It's not complicated, but it's there to support you. We'll take the brief. We will draft the press release. You'll review that press release. We'll make any changes that we need to do. We'll distribute that press release to our media list, which is comprehensive and detailed. And we have a very good idea in terms of a number of themes where the press releases will need to go. And by the way, we have the media contacts and liaisons. So it's not like we just have email addresses for businesses. We have the contacts and liaisons. We can communicate directly with editors and producers and whoever else we need to in order to get the press releases directly to the right people. We'll coordinate interviews with you and we'll share the coverage. And then from a them point of view, which is the media outlets, it's really their responsibility to receive and consider any of the press releases and then publish, edit if they need to, but then publish and invite you, or you being the business, your representatives in for interviews and so on. So let's have a look at how to make the best out of PR, because like any investment in your business, you want to extract as much value out of it as you can. So a lot of the document that we share with our PR clients will cover this, or a lot of this will be in there. So you'll have it in writing as well. And you can keep referring to this and a lot more in order to guide you and remind you of what you need to do to make the best. But just at the beginning, know your target market. You need to understand who you are speaking to, because who you're speaking to is who the message is going to, and we are going to be writing to. And it needs to be written in a certain way. The message needs to be clear. We're effectively solving problems, or at least we're leading. If we consider thought leadership, it's thought leadership around subjects that are important and relevant to your target market. We know that this for decades and decades, and I studied a postgraduate in marketing, and even that, which was a very long time ago, the only digital marketing we had in those days was websites. But the strategy remains: is try to solve people's problems, understand what their pain points are. Now, this idea has always been there, but it's come to the fore, especially with digital marketing and social media in the last number of years. But the message is stronger than ever. If we're out there and you don't want to be talking about products and costs and performance, because then you're just doing what 90% of the other advisors and businesses are doing. You want to get to the soul of what your clients and potential clients really care about. So that's what you want to be writing about. That's what you want to be sharing with media, so that media can jump onto this and go, oh, that's really interesting, and that speaks to the people that our publications or our platforms serve. So solve people's problems to a degree, at least move towards solving their problems. Maybe it's an exploration around solving their problems, but to the best of your ability, try to solve people's problems, answer their questions. Have a PR person elect representative in your business. And if you're keen to come on to PR now, start thinking about who that person is. Someone that can write, someone that can plan, someone that can think, someone that can brief and liaise and be brought onto platforms. And by the way, just a little bit of a heads up over here, we will be launching a media training function toward the end of April. So for any public relations representatives within the businesses of our PR clients, if they need media training, we will be providing that service with some very high caliber, well-known people in media. So we look forward to launching that soon as well. Explore themes. That's very important. We spoke about that in the process on the last slide, but have it top of mind as well. Like just really as a business and whoever's involved with PR, just know what's going on in the world, in the country, and socioeconomic, political arenas. Relate that to your clients and their needs and their goals and their pain points, and use all of these in conjunction with one another to place on your calendar as potential themes that you could then extrapolate into a piece which you can work into a press release and distribute. All right, so plan ahead, don't fall behind. You don't want to be scurrying around. And the brief is very important. And any clients that come on board will teach you how to brief. You don't have to write a press release. We write the press release, but you need to learn how to brief. And the brief, like with advertising, the brief is paramount to the success. And we want to get you into the flow of that so that the whole process can move as smoothly as possible. And then when you get the coverage, you need to leverage that coverage. You need to leverage it. So when you are in publications or on platforms, radio, TV, whatever it may be, for example, share it and share it and share it again. Leverage it as much as you can. Cut it up into pieces, especially where you got audio and video. Cut it up into pieces, have short clips, have those pieces go around social media, use them in traditional media. Whatever coverage you get, slice and dice it to have content available to you, especially across social media, for your newsletters, on your website, wherever else. Leverage your coverage as much as possible. So now we have to answer the question. I'm not going to wait for Q's and A's around this. And with 3 minutes to go, we're going to go over. I hope you don't mind. We did start 5 minutes late, so I want to use that as a buffer. We have to answer the question, and we're placing this question here before you ask it because it does come up, and it should come up. Why not just use AI? And that's a very good question. So please allow me a moment to try to answer that. Well, there's a certain way of writing press releases. And although ChatGPT, for example, could do it to some extent, you have to brief AI in a very, very particular way. And that still is possible to a degree once you've taught it to write in your way, for your business, for your target audience, in the way, manner, and tone that you need. And unless you have an intimate knowledge of what media requires in order to take your press release, and in so many cases use it verbatim, you're not going to get AI to write it in that way. Maybe one day, but certainly not right now. There's also an authenticity required. And it's not like media isn't aware that people are using AI to assist them with their writing. So what media is looking for is an original authenticity around whatever they receive. If it even hints at being written by AI, they are far less interested in using it because anyone can, in theory, write a brief and put it in ChatGPT, which spits out some kind of content in a particular format. They don't want that. They want the businesses to write, or the PR company to write in its own unique way. If it's the PR company representing the financial services business, they're looking for unique original content that's written for the target market in a particular way that can resonate with it. And if you've used ChatGPT to any degree, you'll know that it has a particular tone and feel to it. Even when you instruct it to write in a different way, like use a sense of humor, be more casual, get professional, get formal, or you could write a whole paragraph expanding the personality. There's still something about it. And on your website, it doesn't matter. In your newsletters, it matters less. But when it comes to providing media with press releases, they will see right through AI. Also, AI does not have the relationships with the media that we do. We know who the media is. We know who to speak to in media. We know how to get through to them. We know their contact details. We know their names. And in some cases, we know the names of their spouses and their kids. So we have relationships, just like you have relationships with your clients, and they resonate with you. And those relationships can span over many, many, many years. And you extract and they extract reciprocal value out of those relationships. AI cannot do that for you. That's why you work with a PR company. With that comes the distribution. So we know who they are, where they are, and we distribute the press releases accordingly. And of course, AI cannot follow up. The AI cannot pick up the phone and speak to another human being or a human being and ask how it's going, or check in on any editing, or look for coverage if they're not sure where it is. AI is not human, it's artificial intelligence. And a lot of this process to be successful relies on human to human relationships. We, as FI Consult, are good to go. I am very excited to share that with you. We are good to go. We are up and running, and we can move immediately with any financial services businesses of any size. We have a copywriter right now. We don't have a room full of dozens of copywriters. We have a copywriter who I've worked with personally for many, many years. And we, as FI Consult, have now worked with since launch. We used her for launch. We'll introduce her personally to the companies that we work with. By the way, she is a South African living in the UK, which doesn't mean she's charging sterling. Don't worry about that. We've got a very well-refined media list, but that is adapted, changed, personalized, customized, depending on your target market and your message, who you're writing for and what you're writing. The process doc is something that we will share with you when you come on board as a client. And we will, with all new clients, have a briefing meeting or meetings where we'll have introductions, we'll brainstorm themes, messages, thought leadership, and we'll work with you and teach you how to brief properly, effectively, efficiently, so that the process can be as smooth and seamless as possible. So our launch offer to anyone coming on board now, and we'll probably keep this up for a bit of time, but you'll see why we called it a launch offer. And we're not giving it all away over here. What we're saying is that you can get into public relations for 4,500 Rand a month. Now, if you have experienced public relations, contracting businesses to do your PR before, you'll know that this is incredibly affordable compared to anything out there. So one of the media training companies that we'll be bringing on board in one capacity or another at the end of April also has a PR function, and they start at 18,000 Rand a month, and you don't get much for that. 18,000 Rand, you don't get much for that. So 4,500 Rand, just to give you a heads up, includes regular work. So you'll have to commit to working with us on a regular basis, and it's one press release a month. But understand what you get for that. You get me, you get David, you get the copywriter, you get briefs, you get documents, you get brainstorming, you get the initial meeting. You get direct liaison with our copywriter through PR at FI Consult, so that you don't have to go through us through me and David all the time. You build a relationship with a copywriter. You get incredibly professional writing, and you get media distribution and coordination and follow-up. So it exists on the two bases that FI Consult works, which is one on retainer and the other is standalone. So most of our clients come on retainer with us, which means that they pay us a certain amount of money every month, and we provide services through a time allocation. Now, PR can form part of that time allocation. We work it into the retainer, or you can go as a standalone service, which is, for example, you want 2 or 3 press releases a month, and you want to contract for the next year. So we do it like that. Or it could, and this won't serve you as it should, but you could do, for example, 4 press releases over the next 2 months. It's possible, and we will do it for you with the greatest of pleasure. Why I say I won't serve you is because you want to start trickling or drip feeding your thought leadership, your ideas and opinions into the media to start building a reputation to start building your brand, to start building credibility so that you're more and more recognized over time. All right, where are we? That is us. That is our public relations service, which is now officially launched. Thank you for being here, everyone that's live. David, you've kept your eyes on the chat. Any questions?
Yeah, Jason, thank you very much. And you've answered the one question from Trevor around the services and the costing. So that's there. But I did
just
get
on that. Sorry,
yeah.
David, on that, in terms of costing, I highlighted that you can enter into public relations for 4,500 Rand a month. That demonstrates how easily accessible and within reach it is now. We need to understand your objectives with public relations, and then we'll price it for you accordingly. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Jason. I did also get a direct message. So looking at this, and it's great benefits that you're talking about, but how long does it take for success to be realized using a PR strategy?
Yeah, so that's maybe a question you can break down into parts. The first is, and as a coach, I have to ask this, what is success? And anyone in business will also ask that question, what does success look like? So getting your press release into a single publication could be success. It could be success. Getting your press release into several publications, getting a radio interview, a TV interview, and then having a drip feed over the next few months is also success. That can happen from a single press release. So the way we look at it from an FI Consult perspective is that success is exposure. And we're really gonna count the number of exposures. Even a single exposure is success, because once again, if you take the cost of an ad in a publication and compare it to the cost of public relations, it's usually that public relations will give you better exposure. And it's not sponsored, right? You're not paying for it. So it's not an ad, it's coverage. So that's how we look at it. And we'll do our absolute best to give you as much exposure as possible. And the success of that, by the way, comes from coming up with the right ideas, having the right people, briefing us properly, our writing the press release properly, distributing it properly to the right people and communicating with them. Traditionally, and with very large PR companies, the measurement is more than that. It's with something called AVE, which is advertising value equivalency. So if you go into a R1 million retainer, you'll probably start measuring it like this, which is really the cost of the media space as if it were bought through ads. Okay. There's also a second one, which is in contrast to the first, which is the public relations value. And this assesses the overall impact of the PR campaign, but it includes a lot of the soft things and the more qualitative than quantitative bits to it, like brand recognition, trust, and audience engagement, which is, of course, far more difficult to measure. Yeah, I think that answers that question. But from our perspective, look, we're not going to start. We're not anytime soon going to measure AVE or PR value, because that requires an analytics person and or department, which will at least multiply your price by 6. Okay. Anything else, 100%. David?
That's it, Jason. In terms of questions, I think you covered well in the presentation. And again, just thank you to everyone for attending and for the questions and giving us of your time.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for those that are on live, and to all of those that are watching on YouTube. We look forward to your contacting us to discuss your public relations campaigns. hello@ficonsult.co.za. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.